This podcast is brought to you by Rebecca Cassells of the Rising Dawn series. Do you like violence? Do you like smut? Are you tired of the stereotypical novels of werewolf romance out there and want something a little bit different? Then pick up Sparked Revolution, Book 1 in the Rising Dawn series by Rebecca Cassells. Available on Amazon, in Kindle, and paperback. You too can become a sponsor of Stories, the True and the Fictional by heading on over to buymeacoffee.com/STTATF or follow the link in the show notes. Hello guys and welcome to another episode of Stories, the True and the Fictional. We've got another great interview, but before that, I am one of your hosts, J.A. Bryden, author of Ancora, Letters from the Emu War, and the Wedding Night Trilogy, and with me always is our resident reader, Ryan. How are we going, Ryan?
Oh, living the dream, man. Just living the very fluey dream at the moment. I'm recovering from a bout of the flu, no COVID, thank you very much. I've had that enough in my lifetime, but still living the dream, man. Living the dream, and get keen to speak to our guest today.
Sweet. Well, before we bring him in, remember to check out our sponsors, Martin Kearns, who's got a new book out, Kinda. Check it out if you like horror and scary stuff. Rebecca Cassells has a new book called The Broken Cabin. It's kind of like a slow burn romance with someone modelled off Henry Cavill, so that's always a win. But now that the promo's over, let's bring in our guest, Tim Carter. How are we going?
Gentlemen,
thank you very much for joining us. It's going to be great.
thanks so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
So the typical question we always ask for people that may not know, who is Tim Carter?
I ask myself that question every morning, I think. I'm a writer based in Vancouver, Canada. I've written movies, and actually I also produce movies, so I was a writer-producer for a long time. I've written a bunch of video games, including some big ones you may have heard of, and a bunch that never got published, which is very typical of the video game industry. And recently branched out into writing sort of long-form fiction. So I wrote a novella called Major Domo last year, and this year released a novel called Jester, and I'm hard at work on the next one, while still working in video games and maybe even dipping my toe into movies if the right project comes along.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Well, we're going to have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Three of my favorite things: books, video games, and movies. So definitely lots to talk about.
You know, it's as long as I can pay my rent, I'm living the dream, right? It's
definitely
the reason there's so many sort of different parts to it is because it's a desperate scramble to pay the rent. But so I keep hopping from one medium to another. But it's what more could you ask for, right? To be working on games, and then in the afternoon it's like, I'm switching over to write my fantasy novel.
Yeah.
I mean, what do they say? If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So, if you can do what you love and get all the bills paid and everything, I mean, that's a life worth living, isn't it?
I absolutely think that. And, I think for a lot of writers, especially these days, you need to have your foot in different kind of camps in order to make that happen, So, I'm really, really lucky to have managed to pull it off for as long as I have.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, before we get too deep, we're going to do our icebreaker questions, which is kind of our mandatory thing we do here to get to know you, because we find if we get to know the author, then there's a good chance that we'll get to buy your books. It's a good selling point,
I'm totally game.
So do you want to go first, Ryan, or do you want me to go first?
Because of I'm not sure how long my voice is going to hold out. I'm going to get you to go first, and I'll take the easy route with the two short questions.
Oh, okay, sweet.
Yeah.
All right. So, we encourage selfish answers. So you're not
set the world, Jamie. Set the world.
Set the world. It's basically Miss Universe has happened, and everything that they want has happened. World peace. There's no cruelty to animals. There's no. It's a relatively nice place to live. However, everyone has pet peeves. So with that in mind, if you could get rid of anything in this world, what would it be?
Yeah, and I say this as a Canadian, living on the border of the United States with our current political environment. So I've gone hard into the pet peeves here because I spend a lot of time thinking about politics,
Yeah.
and it's a two-part answer. And I've always said if I ran for elected office, this would be my campaign promise. On the one hand, it's all spam, text and phone that comes in on your cell phone. Like
Yeah.
put together the task force, take 0 prisoners, get rid of that.
Yeah.
And the other one is long automated sequences from large corporations where they keep bouncing you from one robot menu to the next. It's like, look,
Yeah.
15 seconds and I want a human being to, I don't care if you're the phone company or the hydro company or whatever. Like just take those two things away. I think you've made the world a vastly happier place.
100%. And coming from the author community, we all know about those lovely inboxes we get. Hello, author, what genre do you write,
Yeah. Or I love your work. Now tell me something about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's why I started
Yeah.
up those spammer of the day things. I basically analyze a spammer and I give them a star rating and I deep dive into all the thing. I was trying to stop doing it now because they've actually backed off. I hardly get them anymore. It's like,
I think you had to go back onto Twitter to find them or something. Didn't you
yeah,
post that just the other
I
day?
I found one on Threads. Found
Oh,
one
okay.
on Facebook. But Twitter's just nuts for it.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah. You're dipping you're fishing in a barrel at that point, really.
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, we had enough to do an episode on it last week. So we had an author that unfortunately forgot about the interview. So we ended up doing a whole episode just on Jamie's scammers of the day. So I think that filled a half an hour block.
Yeah.
So, there's definitely been a fair few.
Yeah.
The ones that kill me are the ones that phone in. I always ask them, does their mother know they're trying to steal from people? That's my little piece of
Oh, yes.
retribution, right?
Yeah.
It
I
just
get you, and they out here. They used to always call from 1-800 numbers and or landline. So that's how they used to get a lot of people to answer. But now they've switched over to calling from mobile or cell phones.
sure.
So you think, oh, maybe this is someone I know who's got a new number. You answer, and it's just scammers or. I get a lot of ones which are speaking a different language and they just babble on. I just let them go to voicemail. But yeah, they've started moving over to the cell phone territory, so they're finding new ways to get
Yeah.
into our world.
Yeah, and they've also ruined incoming calls. I have had 2 calls this week where people who were not on my list of whatever
Yeah.
contacts were genuinely trying to help me with something. Like in one case, the
Yeah.
power had been out here, and the alarm company called to tell me how to reset the thing. Like they just they knew that the power was out, and they're like, okay, we're just gonna check see if Tim's safe. And of course, it's a 1-800 number. So I answered. First of all, I thought I wasn't going to answer, and then I answered full of snark. And it's some poor lady who's calling to do me a favor, right? But you just assume it's.
Yeah.
Can we swear on here before I say what I?
Yeah,
thought?
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You just assume it's some asshole, right? And
Yeah.
then it's the guy delivering my firewood, and I'm like, oh, gee, okay.
Well, that's it. Like and exactly what you said is what I do. If it's a number that I don't know, I'll just ignore it. And I figure if it's important enough, they'll leave a voicemail. And the scammers never do. They never leave voicemails. It's always. But it's exactly right. Like could be someone calling to say, hey. There's been break-ins in the area, or they're just trying to. We've got an alarm system here, trying to help us reset our alarm system. But because I don't know the number, I'm not answering, and that's what
Right.
scammers have done to us. So
Yeah, they've made us all dislike incoming calls, which is sort of a terrible thing
exactly.
when you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on that platform, I will vote for you for sure. So, because another thing you get, you mentioned those annoying texts. Like I signed up for, because we recently moved, so I signed up for contents insurance, like to protect the valuables in our home and also new car insurance. So since I did that, text after text after text from all these different sales companies trying to sell me stuff, and you can't stop them. I've tried blocking the number. They just come from a different number then. It's insane. So let's get rid of them all. Really. So Okay, well, question number two. What's something that is on your bucket list?
Well, I thought this was an interesting question because up until 2 months ago, publishing a novel would have been at the top of my bucket
Uh,
list, right? And so
Yeah.
now that I did that, it's like, okay, crap. Now what's it going to be?
Publishing too.
I, well, I'm gonna take the cop out route there and say like, so I'm super lucky in that I have a little house on an island off the coast here that's like
Ooh.
really peaceful and quiet. And I had some guys like I'd say I built it, but like I'm just not skilled enough to claim that. So really, I had some people help me build like just a little office, like
Yeah.
not even as big as your bedroom that I can write in, right, with big glass windows. And so I would my bucket list now is to take a year and basically just jam through a really like great book where that's all that I do.
Yeah.
I don't have to, I don't do any marketing. I don't do any, whatever. Take a couple trips and walk my dogs and basically just write for 9 months or a year in my little cone of silence. So whether life will ever allow me to do that financially or otherwise is anybody's guess. But you know, when I get like 4 or 5 days there, I'm like, oh, this is just bliss, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm the luckiest person on the planet. So give me 6 months of that, I'll be pretty happy.
Yeah. I'm all for that. I've lived in the Blue Mountains pretty much, so it is wilderness everywhere. Outside my window, it's just bush. You know.
Oh, nice.
So I'm kind of semi between jobs. I've got a little bit of work coming and going, but I'm pretty much in the full writing zone too. I knocked out 5,000 words yesterday.
Wow, awesome.
And it's just,
Yeah.
I just love being in the zone, you know, and just, I'd love to do that for 6 months. I reckon I could knock out 2 books.
Yeah, I think if you really got it going, and like for me, if you can find the voice and you kind of know how the thing's going to end,
Yeah.
and you're uninterrupted,
Yeah.
you could just cruise, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the dream for everyone. But
That's it.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
my bucket
I like
list.
that answer. I like that answer. I think that's pretty good. And I hope you get it. I hope you get it eventually.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So this next one's a bit of a big one. It's a good one. We love it. So I'm going to make it a little more visual this time. The question is, what is your Mount Rushmore of TV shows? So I'm bringing up the Mount Rushmore just so I can edit it what your choices are when it comes
Sure.
on.
Well, I think you got to start with The Wire. Love The Wire.
Okay, yeah. Great show.
Just and set a certain kind of bar. Then I'm going to say I love science fiction and I love me some political science fiction. So even though I think it's a flawed masterpiece, I'm going to say Battlestar Galactica, the reboot.
Ooh, yeah.
Definitely. Just because if I just do 4 kind of political drama things, that's just going to be boring, right?
Yeah.
So then, because I'm a Canadian and a very proud Canadian, I'm going to put Schitt's Creek up there as number 3.
Love it.
Yep.
Yeah, love it.
Again, complete change of tone, right? Ridiculous, whimsical, but by 1,000 miles, the best thing made in Canada. So, and then fourth is tough. I was thinking it's either The Americans, because I love spy shows and I really enjoyed that show, especially once they got over making them sort of Jackie Chan type action heroes in the first maybe 2-3 episodes, or The Bureau. So I think just again, in the interest of a little diversity, I'm going to take the French spy show, The Bureau, as my spy drama. I love that show. Wow, is it 5 seasons? Still, there's still echoes of that going on. I don't even know if the American one's come out yet, but I have no interest in watching it because it's like, you didn't need to remake it. Just watch the subtitles. The thing is great.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or learn the language.
Well, sure. Speaking as a Canadian, I speak, I can hack my way through a French menu, but I would not be able to follow a show about sort of espionage and politics very well.
Yeah,
but
that's it. No, that's great choices.
Yeah, I really love The Wire. The Wire's on we've only just got Max out here in the last 6 months, and I was very happy to see that the entire collection of The Wire is up. So I've started my rewatch of that. But yeah, I used to have it on DVD. I used to watch it all the time. So it's such a great show.
Me too. I would, that's sort of almost my comfort food. I'd put in the
Yeah.
DVDs, if you're stressed out or whatever, it's the end of the evening. Maybe my wife travels for work a fair bit, so I'd be bacheloring it for, a couple of days and just be like, oh yeah, I can get through season one,
Yeah.
uh, open a bottle of wine and just go for it. So
Yeah.
it's almost sad that we've gone past that now, where you don't have the
Yeah.
DVDs with the director's commentary and all the other sort of gack that was on the back there, because some of that stuff, like Battlestar, the showrunner's comments are amazing. Having worked in the film and TV industry, like he's really giving useful insights, and he's not puffing himself. Like he's not just talking about how great everybody is. Like he's constantly like, oh, we're trying to do something here and we totally screwed it up. And so it's that, which to me is by far the more interesting stuff, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's the most it's better than, the IMDb trivia, because it's like real time
Totally.
and it's just like, oh, this was, because I love finding out about things that, oh, this was supposed to happen, but then totally like perfect example, what was it? The Dark Knight, where they blow up the hospital and
Mhm.
what's it, Heath Ledger, like they had one take at it and then it glitched and it didn't blow up, and then he did this little improv bit, and it's like it's so iconic,
Right.
Huh?
Yeah. There's tons of stuff like that out there, and
Yeah,
the scenes that are ad lib, but you don't know they're ad libbed, and then the
yeah.
one, there's the in Fight Club. I'm a huge fan of the movie Fight Club, and David Fincher's comments again on the DVD, which now
Yeah.
nobody is watching. Right? There's one scene where they reshot it, and when they came back, when you do a reshoot, like the set deck guys always take pictures of all the sets in case you have
Yeah.
to go back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they recreated it exactly, except there's one light switch that they failed to paint from black to white.
Oh,
So every time they turn around on the other character, like it's when you look in one way, the switch is white, and when you look the other way, the switch is black. And
wow.
once you're told, you can't not
Unsee
see it,
it.
right?
Yeah.
But I probably watched the movie 10 times before I ever listened to the commentary and
Yeah.
he pointed it out. And I don't know. I love things like that.
Yeah. That's like when the 1990s Ninja Turtle movie came out on widescreen and you could see production people hiding behind tables
Sure.
and,
Yeah.
and so it's just it's so bad. I love it.
Yeah.
Um,
No, but definitely a worthy Mount Rushmore. I can agree with pretty much everything. I haven't seen Battlestar Galactica because I'm not a massive sci-fi guy, but the other shows, the Americans is a big favorite of my dad's, and he got me into that too. That's a really good show. I like that too. So yeah, definitely can agree with your Mount Rushmore.
mm.
So question number 4, what is your zombie apocalypse plan?
Well, having actually written and produced a couple of zombie movies, I have a much more elaborate plan than a lot of people. So not everyone has a baseball bat with nails driven through it in their office, but I'm lucky enough that, step one of the plan is you take this off
Yeah.
the wall, even
Yeah.
though it is rubber. So, but at least I figure it'll work for intimidation purposes.
Yeah.
And then, as I said, I have this little island off the coast, and it's not fully zombie ready yet, but it's a running sort of commentary in our family that, with some solar panels, and
Yeah.
then the power goes out all the time. So we have a generator, and there is a spring on the property, but we haven't like dug it out. And there's certain
All right.
things you do to turn a spring into actual drinkable water. But I'm only 2 or 3 home rental projects away from like fresh water, more or less food sustainability, and my own source of power. So I just got to get to the island. I need like about 6 hours of heads up time
Yeah.
from the beginning of the outbreak to get on the ferry, get to the other side, preferably with a stop at Costco for canned goods, and then we're good to go.
Yeah.
Well,
Halfway there.
I recently on this past Saturday with my wife went and saw the new 28 Years Later movie, and that's
Really
got a
looking
similar
forward to it.
Oh, it's really, really good. It's the original team, Danny Boyle, Alex Garland, absolutely amazing because I didn't realize they didn't do the second. We rewatched the first two to go and to get ready for it because obviously the first one came out in 2002, I think. and then the next one was all Americanized because it was a different director and writer. But having Danny Boyle and Alex Garland back, it is absolutely, it got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's definitely worth 100% because it was from start to finish. Felt like I was in the cinema for 10 minutes, but it was like almost just over 2 hours. But the reason I bring it up is they do a similar premise. They have a little bit larger scale, but it's set in Western Scotland. And these guys are cut off from the mainland, and they've developed 28 years since the infection happened. They've got civilization back up and running. They've got power. They've got farming and they're living off the land essentially. So maybe when you watch that, take a few notes, and then, like you say, your 2 to 3 home renovation projects, and then you'll be fine. You'll be 100% fine.
I don't have the big wall up yet. It's all I've got is a deer fence because this island is absolutely overrun with deer. And despite modern technology, the deer win more often than they lose, frankly. So we got some work to do there we can't kind of defeat the deer. We're not keeping out a horde of zombies yet. But on the other hand, the meat problem isn't going to be an issue, right? Like they'll come up and eat out of your hand. So I figure I've got a big food supply.
Exactly.
And if you see Rick Grimes coming up to your place, turn him away. Just
yeah. No cowboy hats. No sheriffs.
Cowboy hats. Yeah. Because someone pointed that out to me. It was like, I can't unsee it now. Like everywhere they go in that show, that if they didn't go there, that place would be fine.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just like,
and
they are in fact the harbingers of doom, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And if you draw it, because you look at it, I gave up after season 5, to be honest with you. My wife's watched it all, but I gave up after season 5 because it was just the same. Same
thing.
Get a group, go somewhere. That place will be overrun by zombies and destroyed. They move somewhere else. Go somewhere. That place will be overrun by zombies. It's just like copy paste, but with a different location for every season. So, and it's so much more. Like I've read the comics from start to finish. That was my introduction when The Walking Dead first came out. I think I was up to issue 100 or something, and that the comics just have a different feel than the show.
Yeah,
like in the comics, it doesn't feel cut and paste. But there's so much more. I think more interesting zombie materials out there than The Walking Dead, and I hope people who are listening to this do know that, because a lot of people only know Walking Dead as the zombie thing. You know what I mean? So or buy Jamie's book, The Wedding Night Trilogy. It's a zombie story. I am a character in that book. Our fans think that I should be more prominent, but we'll see. But I like that. Anything with an island where you can cut yourself off from the rest of the world is a winner for a zombie apocalypse plan in my book. I think it's just, if you can do that, if you can get away from population, then I think you're set.
Yep, I agree. I think that's you need to be protecting yourself from humanity as well as the zombies is your sort of baseline strategy. That's you got to start
zombies
there and then work.
Zombies can't help it. They're brain dead, but humans are the real problem. So try and get away from all that.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's move on to the 5th and final icebreaker question. So I'm sure that you're familiar with Bill and Ted. Yes,
indeed. Yeah.
Yes. So Bill and Ted arrive outside your house in their telephone booth time machine and say, "Whoa, dude, Rufus has asked us to give you a free ride in our phone booth time machine. Where do you go?"
I think I'm going to go petty and selfish again here, just to not, sort of claim to be affecting politics. I think the butterfly effect takes over and we just have, President Vance and things would be even worse. But so I'm going to go back and tell myself to start writing a lot sooner and to be, I wanted to be a writer when I was like 6 or 8. And I said I was going to be a writer. And then it was like 33 or something before I really got going. And so I need to give myself some advice about girls, but I also just need to, to tell younger me to get cracking at about 16 and just don't stop, even if it seems like it's terrible. That's, I think I would be both a happier and much farther along person if I had
Yeah.
done that, with maybe one intermediate step at about 2012 or so to say, hey, that Kindle thing is going to take off. If you had 2 or 3 pulpy books the day it started, I'd already be living on the island,
Yeah. That's it. 100%. I mean, I don't know. I think there's someone she's really active on X called Tori Tekken or someone like that. Like she's pretty big, but she started writing when she was like 10 or 12 or something, maybe even 8. And then by the time she was 20, she had like, 5 novels or something, and like she's just a machine. And I feel like, yeah, I would have loved that because me growing up, I was all over the shop. I wanted to be a professional soccer player, a professional skateboarder, a comedian. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted like everything, and I just couldn't pick one thing,
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
and I
just
think,
like,
I sort of wanted to be lots of different things too. And then you sort of go down one road and then get
Yeah.
pushed over to another. And then,
Yep.
like I wanted to work with words, like with writing, but I wasn't confident enough to
Yeah.
be like, okay, I'm going for, fiction or screenwriting or whatever. So
Yeah.
I was like magazine editors and a journalist and working in corporate writing and, which is, you make a living, right? And it's,
Yeah.
I worked with lovely people and they were good jobs in the sense of it being a job,
Yeah.
but they weren't, I wasn't feeding my creativity at all. And I just think there's a certain amount of runway that you need to have a halfway chance at being good and also just to build those muscles up. And the only way to do it is to do it. So you might as well do it when you're 17, 18, 19 instead of like 33, 34, 35. Like it's going to be the same journey either way.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Excellent. No, I probably would do something very, very similar. But that's the icebreaker's done. You've passed with flying colors. So now we move
thank
on.
you.
Now we move on to the fun stuff. This podcast is brought to you by Martin Kearns and the Valor of Valhalla series. In the battle between 2 ancient evils, can one naive young man become the last hope against powerful creatures of legend? Beneath the Veil is the gripping first book in the Valor of Valhalla dark urban fantasy series. If you like reluctant heroes, infernal myths, and bloody epic clashes, then you'll love Martin Kearns' formidable foray into the unknown. So head on over to readkearns.com and grab yourself a copy of Beneath the Veil today. Let's talk about you. Usually we ask about the writing journey, but you've had quite the journey. Let's talk about the transition from your screenplays, your video games and stuff into writing novels. How'd that happen?
Well, thank you. And I like, what would happen if you hated my Mount Rushmore of TV shows? Would you just be like, okay, sorry, we're going to go talk about the scammers for 30 minutes now.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly what happens.
So yeah, like if you go back early enough, I mean, I grew up reading books, so I wanted to write books, right? Like I watched TV shows when I was a little kid, but I never thought to myself like, oh, I want to work in TV. I always wanted to write books. So it was always there as a dream. It was just, I had kept, kind of evolving the things that I did just to make a living. Right. And, so at some point I just thought, well, it's now or never. I was coming out of COVID. Of course, again, if I had a time machine, I should have finished a novel during COVID because I was sitting around like everybody else on my ass, right? But playing a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, like that's what I did during COVID, with all my friends who were also sitting around, and we all discovered you could play online, and then suddenly our 2 hours a month game is like 6 hours a week sort of thing. But and the books that I've written come out of those games, actually, in a way. Some of the characters and some of the ideas. But it was really just, deciding like, okay, if I'm going to do this thing, I need to do it now. And post-COVID, things were really slow work-wise, so I had the latitude to do it. And I thought, well, I'll just do. There's a thing in I think it's worldwide, but it's based in Vancouver, called the 72-hour novel contest. And the idea is that over the Labor Day weekend, you write from midnight Friday to midnight Monday. You're expected to get about 100 pages in that time frame. and then you send it into the publisher and they pick one and publish it. But it's really not about getting published. It's about getting a thing done, right? The idea is that if you just commit to that and you don't sleep very much and you eat a lot of junk food and drink a lot of coffee, you can in fact write 100 pages, even if it's kind of the rough draft, right?
Yeah.
And so I did that, and that was what, this is Major Domo, which is the novel or novella, and it came out of that. Like I wrote the draft of it in 72 hours, having outlined the living daylights out of it, right? And I had a short story with that character, so I knew his voice, and so it's not exactly starting from scratch, but and then of course it took tons of revisions to get it ready to publish it. But I had a finished document, and then that gave me the confidence to start to take another story that I had written and turn it into a novel. And while I was working on that, I managed to get Major Domo published. It's self-published, and it started to get like a really positive response. And so that also kind of encouraged me on the days when I was distracted or was rereading yesterday's stuff, and you're like, oh my God, this is terrible, right?
Yeah.
But then you read a Goodreads review and someone really loved it, and it's like, I can't wait to read what you have next. And you think like, oh, well, okay, I better go back to the computer, right?
That's it.
So yeah, and so now I have 2 out, and I'm well into the third one, and hoping one day to fully transition to just writing fiction. Although I can't claim that I'm close to that. I still write video games, and I still work. I'm consulting with a couple of other companies about gaming, so helping them bring gaming into their business. That's sort of like a creative storytelling business, but they don't have games of any kind. And so I'm sort of becoming their gaming guy. But hoping that as I build 2, 3, 4 books over the space of years, that maybe that will build up enough that it is sustainable. And I have plenty of friends in Vancouver, or I've made friends now, who are either traditionally published or self-published, and making a go of it, doing extremely well. So they're sort of inspiring me as well.
Books are very much alive,
I think so. Every once in a while you see these doom and gloom things on social media about either men don't read, or books are dying, or it's only romance, and I'm like, I don't know.
No.
Joe Abercrombie seems to be doing just great, and when I'm done reading him, I'm going to go read Mark Lawrence, and when I'm done that, I'm going to read John Gwynne. I don't see it. I see new books coming out. They're great. I'm reading them all the time. I know lots of other people that are reading them. So there's a certain gloominess that I think comes if a particular work of yours doesn't sell, and we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
But I think books are doing pretty well overall.
Yeah. No, well, it's kind of annoying because my new book came out like start of the month, like June 1st. I don't know when this episode is dropping, so I'll just say June 1st. And it's doing reasonably well, but my first book is just boomed. It started booming. It's just like everyone's going back to the first book, and I'm going like, I do have a new book. Can you buy my new book? But at the same time, I'm not really complaining, because I think they say the best way to sell one book is to publish 2.
I think so. Yeah. And I see a lot of people that make the jump from one to the other, either going backwards or going forwards, and they find them in the weirdest places, and that's just great. Yeah.
Well, I had some lady a few months ago reach out to me just randomly through my email saying, I'm trying to buy your book, but I can't get it shipped to Serbia. Like, can I buy one directly from you? And I said, shipping will be insane. Like, it'll be crazy. I think it was like 33 Australian dollars, and I sent it off to Serbia, like signed a copy and all that. It's just weird. Like,
sure. Yeah. I've sent signed copies at people's request to Ireland, from Vancouver, Canada, right? So that's not quite Australia to Serbia, but it's not far off. And India, Singapore, just it's bizarre how, what strange chain of connections leads people to find you. But it's having worked in movies so I've produced 5, I wrote 3 that got made. but I've probably been paid to write 20, maybe 25. And video games, there's like 2 or 3 big ones and a bunch of small ones, or ones where I contributed a little something, like I can't really say I wrote the game, but I was somehow involved in the game that came out. But I worked on 4 or 5 real monsters that never saw the light of day. And so, none of that writing ever gets seen by anyone. And it's some of the best stuff I've ever done. So, being able to publish a book and then people are reading it is just so like, there's no feeling like it reading.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's why I love self-publishing. I went hybrid for one book, but I love self-publishing because you know that your story will get out there. Whether people read it or not, it's going to get out there. It's going to get published. People are going to see it.
I 100% agree. And I think we'd all like to have a bigger audience, probably, unless we're Stephen King or somebody. But even the small number of devoted followers that I have, like, man, they feed your ego in like a way that's kind of, there's like an egotistical side of that, but they feed you morally. Like, just the fact that someone read it and really liked it and got what I was trying to do and it made their day better for a day is like, man, there's not many things in the world where you can affect someone's emotional life, even in a small way. And so that just makes me feel awesome, really.
It makes you want to do more. It makes you want to keep going.
100%.
Yeah. And I still have that dream of them getting turned into movies, but there's only 1 or 2 directors I would actually trust with my work. Like I wouldn't at the same time, I'd want it to be an indie film. I wouldn't want to make it like a blockbuster.
Sure.
Because I just control. I want some control,
That, which, of course, in any kind of Hollywood scenario, that's the first thing to go away, right? Even I've been the writer and producer of movies. I still didn't really have complete control over what was being done, and I've been told as the producer, I had to fire myself as the writer. So, so there, there is something to be said for having control of the process, and, win or lose, it's exactly what you wanted it to be,
That's it.
So,
well, let's talk about Jester.
Sure.
Do we want to examine the cover first, Ryan? I know you like to talk about the covers.
Already have, mate. Already have. I'm well in front of you that way.
I'll bring it up so we can have a gander at it.
So I clearly, by looking at this cover, it is definitely a fantasy inspired book. Even though you already mentioned that it's obviously, you have modeled some characters and some stories off the D&D campaigns, and me and Jamie are big D&D players as well, so we can appreciate what you've done there. In my D&D characters, I tend to give them awesome backstories, and when we play, I get fully into it. But then when it comes to if I want to write about it, I can't do it. So hats off to you for doing that. But I like the I'm not going to say simplicity, but I like the that you've only used a few different colors in this cover, and that sort of brings it to my eyes more. Now I'm a comic book reader from way back, so imaging is a big thing when I read as well. I've read hundreds and probably thousands of novels in my time. But with this cover, did you actually come up with the design yourself, or did you contract someone out to help with that process, or how did that all work?
So I work with a company called, I think you pronounce it Mibble Art, but I could be wrong. And they're sort of a specialty indie author cover design shop, I guess. It's a long ass way of saying it, but and I think they're really good. They're very reasonably priced. And the earlier book, Major Domo, I used them, and honestly, it was just a budget decision. But the guy took my brief, and the first thing he sent back, I was like, oh, this is genius. And so we more or less made some very small tweaks to the very, very first pass, and that was it. This took a long time to get something I was happy with, but I think in the end it came out really well. So it was sort of a lot of me pushing the designer and saying things like, it's about these nobles, but they're also idiots. And so like purple is the color of, the emperor, but then yellow is sort of the color of a fool. And like, maybe we can, let's play with that. And so it took a little bit of work, but I think it captured the tone of the book, which is very sort of Terry Pratchett. It's about politics, but it's kind of ridiculous at the same time. It captured that. It's a good reflection of what the book is.
No, definitely. I can 100% see, as I said, immediately looking at the cover, I know that I'm in for a fantasy ride. And I love the tagline that you had for it too. I'm just going to bring that up again. Yeah. In a realm ruled by idiots, the only hope is the fool. And I absolutely, that grabbed me into reading, because not a lot of fantasy does have comic relief. Like a lot of fantasy is it's a high fantasy, and it's all action. It's all very 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 tunnel vision in saying that. But when you're focusing on a bit of the comedy side of things in the story, I think that's a really impressive way to go about it. I mean, I've already put it to my Kindle Unlimited list, so I'm very much looking forward to diving into it in the next few days.
Well, I'll be really interested to hear what you think. It's,
Oh, definitely.
I like humor. I like everything I've done has had some, even when it's been really sort of very serious political stories. I think you got to have some humor in there. I don't, I won't say what it is, because it's a really famous sort of fantasy author I'm listening to now as I walk my dogs, because I read books at night, but I also listen to audiobooks while I'm walking my dogs every day. That's a good way to chew through your big 800-page doorstopper type things.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a Viking inspired story, and it's unrelentingly grim. And you're just like, oh, come on, man. Like the Vikings told jokes too, right? And so I like that. I like to read that kind of story, and I often find that if you want to make a point, sometimes making people laugh about a thing is a really effective way to do that. And I like to have sort of messages in my writing, right? Whether it's about people or characters, or how we think about characters, politics. In this case, it's a story of this kind of duchy that is under, they know that over the horizon somewhere there's this massive undead army that is almost certainly coming to squash them, and it appears to be unbeatable. But the people that rule the place are so busy stabbing each other in the back and being greedy and ducking their taxes and stuff that they cannot get their act together, right? They're just too sort of self-destructive and too selfish. And the hero is a goblin who has been enslaved by them years before, and been put to work cleaning the toilets. And so he has no self-esteem whatsoever and no power. He's literally the least powerful person in the entire realm. But because he's in and out of all of these other rooms doing extremely menial jobs, he hears everything. And he decides, having listened to how stupid their planning is, he's like, I'm going to die when all of these idiots die too, right? And so he sets out to change the realm just out of sheer sort of self-preservation, right? It's not a big noble quest. It's like, if I don't stop these morons, they're just going to keep being stupid until we're all dead. And so he starts from a position of extreme weakness, and he's clearly quite clever, but he doesn't have a lot of confidence, having been bashed on the head and turned into a slave, and then given really, really terrible jobs for 3-4 years. But he has to, that's his journey, is sort of plowing through that insecurity while attempting to manipulate people without them realizing that they've been manipulated. Because of course most of them don't want a goblin calling the shots, even if he is the smartest guy in the place. So plays on my Dungeons and Dragons sort of experience, where the sort of menial bad guy races are really sort of treated very poorly without a lot of justification. There's the big bad necromancer, in the fortress way in the distance. We'll get to him when we're level 12. But in the meantime, we're just going to go massacre a bunch of goblins because they happen
Yeah.
to be nearby. And, really,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, have they really done anything to deserve to be wiped out? It's questionable, right? So like Jester, the hero is a goblin. In Major Domo, the hero is a kobold with a club foot who can't, so he can't run because he's got a bad foot. So he can't even, like, the one thing kobolds do is kind of run away, right? And so he's had to develop a whole new kind of system for his life. And through, by hook and by crook, he's kind of attained the top of the status that he can expect as the kind of head butler of a premier dungeon, right? And life would be great if it wasn't for all the sort of do-gooders that kept coming by to murder everyone and steal all their stuff. And so he's just trying to hold his family together in the face of all of these guys who call themselves, the Paladin of Light, but then they just massacre everyone in front of them. And so, really, how good are they?
Yeah. I'm feeling like
Exactly.
it sounds a little bit like what's that movie? Johnny English. It's like the less of the less has to rise up, and like and maybe a touch of Guardians of the Galaxy where it's just like that line from the first movie where he's like, it's like, oh, what do you care about the universe? Like, why do you want to save it? He's like, because I'm one of the idiots that live in it,
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
My heroes could easily be the raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy. I forget his name, but like
Rocket.
They're very Rocket. So they're very much that guy, right? Put upon, everyone looks down on him, and he's just trying to carve a life for himself. So I love those characters. That's my kind
brilliant. It is literally brilliant. It's the forgot about characters from Dungeons and Dragons and all the fantasy stuff. It's like
it's you get tired of the sort of classic overpowered wizard that really can do pretty much anything, and he's kind of the D&D version of Superman. Like I find Superman the most boring superhero of all of them. If you're indestructible like that, that immediately to me makes you less interesting. The people who are really destructible and still manage to pull things off are the most interesting characters to my mind.
Yeah. I think that's why Batman's more popular,
Totally. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though he's like usually pretty grumpy, a little dark, right? Like he's not the most engaging guy sometimes, but
you can always go back to Adam West.
Sure.
I mean, in Batman's defense, he doesn't really get to sleep that often. So I'd be pretty grumpy too if I didn't get to, sleep most nights and had to go out. You're Bruce Wayne in the boardroom. The last thing you want to do at nighttime is go out and, chase the Joker for days on end. I'd be pretty grumpy too.
I see right away. I'm thinking there's an awesome, either whether it's a setup for a superhero story or a book, is this guy who's overcommitted himself, and now he's got all his daytime responsibilities, and then his billionaire persona involves whatever, patron of charities. He's got to go cut ribbons and whatever, and he's got the blonde chasing after him, and then he's basically sleep deprived to the point of almost hallucinating because he spends his whole nights chasing bad guys and getting the crap kicked out of him.
Yeah.
If
that comes to fruition, I'll take my royalties and I'll give you my PayPal for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, one other thing that I wanted to talk to, and I know we'll definitely get back to your books, but in reading your website this morning, I had no idea that you produced one of my favorite video game adaptations of all time, the Mortal Kombat Legacy TV digital show for Warner Brothers. I had no idea because Jamie told me like the video games you'd worked on and stuff like that, and I was like, wow, that's awesome. But yeah, so how did that come about? Like, obviously, I'm a massive old school. Like, I've played all the games, I've watched all the movies, I've watched all the animes and TV shows and everything. How did that come to fruition?
So it's one of those stories that, well, first of all, thank you. I'm so glad you liked it. Yeah, I loved working on it, and I really was proud of the final product, right? Although you can go back and see some of the masks are a little rubbery and stuff. I mean, it's 15-year-old technology now, but
Exactly.
it, I was working in Hollywood, and I kept selling movies and not getting them made. And I wanted to be I had a producing partner, and we wanted to kind of get our company going. So two things happened simultaneously. One was, because there was a writer's strike in 2007, I had to come back to Canada and just do anything to make a living, right? Because all of the sort of LA stuff shut down. And so I started working in the video game industry. I had friends that worked there. Vancouver is a huge video game development hub. So at that time, there were lots of jobs. People were just dying for help. And we decided in 2008, okay, we're just going to make a really low budget indie movie. It's kind of it'll be our Blair Witch, right? And that went through a whole bunch of different twists and turns. And we ended up making a really charming romantic comedy about a woman who inherits a winery. And mainly because the one investor in the movie owned a winery, and he was like, look, you can have the run of the place until harvest, right? Like once we need to do something, you must be gone. But in the meantime, you can have big rolling fields and huge mansion and all the stuff. So we made this little movie, and then we're trying to figure out what to do next. And I was at a conference, and I think I had one reason to be there. I think I was speaking about something, or someone had invited me, but I thought, well, I'm here now. I'm just going to go through the guest list, and anyone that looks like they might be useful or interesting, I'm just going to cold call them and see if I can get a meeting. And so I sent cold emails to 50 people. And one of the people who said yes was this woman who worked at Warner Brothers. But it was the only reason I pinged her is because she worked at Warner Brothers, right? So, and she's going to be in the same room. I just want to have a coffee. And she was like, okay, well, tell me what you do. And I said, well, I just made a really low budget movie, and I work in the video game industry. And she's like, I have a job for you. So complete cold call, no planning, just absolutely dumb luck. I went back to LA and met with her, and she's like, look, we want to make a web series about Mortal Kombat. The gaming people and the movie people do not get along. I can't even have them in the same room. It gets really, really antagonistic really quickly. We think we can use a lot of gaming stuff in the production of the show, but nobody understands how game engines work or anything like that. We need someone and we only have a very small amount of money, and it's a crazy action thing full of costumes and monsters and martial arts, right? So it's not the sort of thing you normally do on a shoestring budget. So they're like, we need someone who knows how to work on a shoestring budget and who can speak video game, right? And can talk to the developers and sort of get them on board. And I actually knew a few of them just from the Game Developers Conference or from Comic-Con or something. I'd had a beer with them once as a kind of friend of a friend of a friend thing, but they knew who I was, right? And they knew that I worked in the gaming industry. So it was almost like one part movie producer, one part diplomat, right? Like the middleman. And so then it went from there. The vision for the thing was Kevin Tancheron, who was the director, who also wrote most of the shorts. He had this idea for what is now really common in Marvel movies, but a certain style of martial arts action that at that time was pretty new and was influenced by The Raid and a few other movies out of Asia, not even Hong Kong, right? Because The Raid is Indonesian, but it was the Indonesians had taken Hong Kong action and given it their own kind of martial arts spin, and so he was heavily influenced by that. And we had a really great stunt coordinator who wanted to sort of bring that to life as well. And so then we all partnered together and made the thing. And I think 2010 maybe up in Vancouver. So I went to LA in order to be able to make something in my hometown, which is crazy, but sort of the way that these things happen. And it was great. We came out the same week as The Walking Dead, and that the web series was getting more views per week than The Walking Dead was getting Nielsen ratings. So
I think most of those views were probably me, because I think I watched the first season. I probably watched it about oh, probably about 100 times. And then I started showing it to my friends at the time who were big video game guys. I'm like, you need to check this out because it was the first Mortal Kombat visual thing outside of the anime that we'd seen in like God, I think the last movie came out in '99 or something. So
Something
it was
like that,
quite a
yeah.
while. And there was no sort of nothing on the horizon. So I said we need to get behind this because if we want to get more Mortal Kombat stuff out there, we need to support this. So yeah, I had absolutely no idea that you produced that thing. So it's one of my favorite Mortal Kombat related video game adaptations of all time. So I'm very honored
Oh
to
well,
meet the person who produced that.
thank you. I'm really flattered by that. It was the first action thing I had ever produced, and that was a journey all on its own because it's one thing, not a lot of people punch each other in little rom-com,
It is a
charming
polar
little
opposite.
movies, right? It's like I think the most dangerous thing we ever did was put the two romantic leads in a rowboat on a lake that was
Yeah.
dead flat, and then next thing you know, we're like blowing things up and
Yeah.
having sort of machine guns with blanks and stuff like that. Guys on wires being pulled
Yeah.
of ledges and things, but
You wouldn't
yeah,
want to
it was
combine the two next, just do a
no.
Mortal Kombat rom-com.
I think the world is ready for that kind of thing. I think
Yeah.
the thing about Mortal Kombat, as much as I love the games and I obviously loved working on the show, like the meta story does not really hold together and make a hell of a lot of sense. You
Yeah.
got to go down to the individual characters and their individual backstories for it to be good. It starts to fall apart when you attempt to make a big story that you take utterly seriously and it's supposed to be canon, right? So I think you would be better off mashing that into something, and why not a rom-com?
Yeah. That works. I mean, who started it? Was it the guy, the Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter movies? How you're mashing history
Sure.
with fiction? That's fun. The movie I reference any time because my mother, my sister, my niece, they're all Pride and Prejudice tragics, and anytime they
Yeah.
say Pride and Prejudice, I just stick my head in the room and go, and zombies
Yeah.
because of the movie they did, and it works
And the
well.
book is great.
Yeah,
I love that book actually.
it's fantastic. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just had to mention that when I saw that on your website. I was like, okay, all right,
Yeah.
that's my one little fan guy kind of thing.
Ryan is officially nerding out.
Well, speaking of nerding out, if you don't mind, do you mind if we talk about your video game career? Obviously, we can,
Sure.
I can see the poster right behind you of Sleeping Dog, which obviously
Fantastic.
is mentioned. Yeah. So so do you want to tell us about how you came into working on Sleeping Dogs and then maybe some other video games that you've worked on as well?
Yeah, sure. So again, I mean, these stories are always these ridiculous one-off things. So Sleeping Dogs I was working at EA on Need for Speed, on a story that never ever became part of any Need for Speed. So again, one of these things that you work on, you think, oh, this is really good, and then
Backstory.
nothing came of that. I mean, the game came out, it just didn't have anything to do with the story they hired us to write. It was me and another guy, but the United Front Games, which is the company that was making Sleeping Dogs, were right down the street from me, and I had some friends there, and they called me on a weekend, and they're like, they were doing another game that called Mod Nation Racer, which was kind of their version of Mario Kart. So go-kart racing, very kid-friendly, and they're like, hey, the game is going Gold Master in like 3 days, and the ratings board has just thrown out all of these jokes, saying they're too crude, they're too kind of gross, like a lot of jokes about like puking when you go around corners and things. Can you come in over the weekend and we just need to fix these little things? So I went in, I helped them out. Everyone's happy. We all, kind of got to know each other working together. And then they would call me and they're like, look, we're working on this game called Sleeping Dogs. It's set in Hong Kong. It's an homage to Hong Kong action movies. And my wife is Chinese. She was born in England. But, if you go back another generation, they're like the extended family's from Hong Kong. And we all knew each other socially. And they're like, do you know any like Asian writers. Like we basically need someone who came from Hong Kong who can speak to this. And I was looking, and meanwhile I went and made a movie, and I was working on other games, and that game went along for a long time. Then it got canceled by Activision, and then it got rebooted by Square Enix, and they called me back and said, okay. And in the meantime, I could not find, like, all the, honestly, all the extended Chinese families I knew in Vancouver wanted their kids to be lawyers and doctors. They did not want them to be working in the video game industry. So I think I would have got disowned if I'd actually roped anyone in, but I couldn't find anyone that was the right kind of combination of factors. And so they just called me, and I had literally just finished the Chateau Moreau, which was the romantic comedy, and I hadn't started Mortal Kombat yet, I think is the way it goes. And they're like, look, we got refinanced, but we're desperate now. Like, we have a 9-month window or something like that. Maybe it was a year, and we are pinning our ears back. We have no time to waste. We hired back all the people that we already know, so we're not doing any interviews. Could you come in and write this game, because we just need a writer, and we really like your writing. And I just happened to be, like, literally just walked off the movie set. Yeah, I'm done. And so I was like, okay, sure. And I went in knowing nothing about the game. Just knew that it was in the other room from the one that I had worked on before. And then, just that game had been, because it had been made and then canceled and then rebooted, one of the reasons it had been canceled, and when they rebooted it, they said, we don't like the story. Like, we need you to substantially rewrite a lot of this dialogue. But big pieces of the game had already been made. And so, it was this sort of crazy scenario where certain things everyone really liked. They like the main characters. They like the kind of big overarching story that's, it's kind of The Departed, which is Infernal Affairs. So there's like a, it's inspired by a movie that's in turn inspired by a whole trilogy out of Hong Kong. But at the same time, they, a lot of scenes, they were just like, oh, we don't like these characters, like all the side characters, and they didn't like the gangsters and things like that. So I was writing to the pieces that had already been made, and we didn't have the budget to redo. And so, there's even one mission in the game where you go in and there's a big long cutscene, and when you leave, the one guy says, that guy sounds like he's full of shit. And then Wei says, yeah, we're not going to do any of what he said there. Just as a way of like, okay, we need the cutscene. We can't afford to redo it, but the mission is going to be something completely different. So I just came in and rewrote like everything that could be rewritten, which is 80 or 90% of the game, but not the big, like not the sort of big building blocks of it. But almost every line of spoken dialogue was written by me, rewritten by me. And we were fortunate enough that we still had the actors, so we could go back and re-record it all.
Oh, that'd be scary, Sorry, can't have the actor. And then so you have that 1980s, or was it Ninja Turtle cartoon where one of the voice actors was sick or something, and they had an episode with a completely different voice actor, and then it goes back next week, and it sounded nothing like the turtle,
Sometimes the best projects are the ones where things are sort of stitched together with duct tape, because you're just you're forced to get really, really creative, and nobody has time to think twice about things, like if I've worked on movies where like the first Dead Rising movie I did, we're like, okay, we're not going to do this thing where we're in a desperate rush the whole way. And then of course, we were in a desperate rush the whole way. So the second movie that we did, we're like, okay, we're going to do it right this time. And frankly, it's significantly flatter than the first one. And it's like, I think you lose a little energy when like everything is pre-planned and exactly what you planned it to be. And people sort of, their adrenaline isn't going in the same way. And I think Sleeping Dogs really benefited from a certain kind of just desperate scramble to get it done. But then, like, especially the writing of it, like that, a lot of things never really got approved by anyone. The mission guys would come and go like, okay, we need it to be this. Like in video games, you're rarely just dreaming it up on your own. They're like, okay, look, the story is this, and this sub component of the story, we want these things to happen, but we've no idea why, right, or how. So we need you to kind of create a logic for that. But we know that the character has to start here, and then he comes to here, and then he takes a little break, and then we go to here, and then we get a little pause, and then we, so you're sort of working with the people who are designing it and just trying to fit those beats. But within that, you can kind of do or say anything you want, and that that freedom makes for some really good sort of lines and some good moments that maybe you wouldn't have been able to pre-plan them.
Well, one of my good friends, he absolutely hates and loathes prison arcs in any movie, in any show, in anything, and I'm the opposite, because I'm like, I love it because the writers are backed into a corner.
Yes,
I just love it, and I found out that he just hates the tension of it. He hates being boxed in. I just love it. Like, one of my favorite series, only season 1, is Prison Break. Where the whole thing is just, you're boxed in, and you've only got so much movement, and you got to get really creative to write that stuff.
Sure. In TV, they call those episodes sometimes the bottle episode.
Yeah.
And what happens is, if you're making like 22 episodes or 13 episodes, you amortize your budget, but then you start stealing from future episodes budgets to do the car chase or whatever, and you get to about episode 15, and you're like, we need an episode that takes place in one room to kind of catch up. But often you find like those are the best episode. Like I just started talk about rewatching The Wire. So Homicide, which was the Paul Attanasio and David Simon's sort of previous series, there's an episode in the first season of that where it's two guys interrogating a guy they think has killed a little kid. And it's the three of them in the interrogation room, and that's pretty much it. I think someone goes to get water at some point, but and it won an Emmy, right? Like because you pack them in there, and then you as a writer, it's like, oh crap, okay, well, we can't distract people by giving a monologue about whatever, or I can't spend the next 3 pages describing what the cutlery looks like. Like you got to get to something compelling, and then you need to keep that ball going. So sometimes when you're backed into a corner, you do some really
creative stuff. I mean,
good stuff.
They were far, far more common 20 years ago, because of every season of a show would have like 22 episodes. So it's like that. Like, I grew up on Stargate, absolutely love Stargate, and man, there were a lot of bottle episodes.
Sure. Another one is made just across the street here, basically. I have a couple of friends that worked on that as well, and it same thing. Back then they had a lot less money than TV shows do today, and
we noticed as the seasons went along, because it was just like, oh look, every planet looks like Canada. They're out back shooting in the forest again. To the point where I think I watched the new Last Airbender on Netflix, the Netflix series, and they run through the forest and they go, the Stargate's there. That's where, like, it's just like you recognize the landmark, the fallen logs, and it just, I know Canada so well. I've never been there, but it just
and there's a particular forest here that is sort of up in the hills. It's controlled by the government. I think it's a demonstration forest, so it's not even a park. So you don't have to worry about campgrounds and background noise. But they will rent it out to the film industry. So that there's a couple episodes of Mortal Kombat that were done up in that forest that are in the snow, which is that one of the problems with shooting in Canada is that was not supposed to be snow, but it's just the day we were set to go, it snowed like a foot, and so it's like, okay, I guess this story takes place in the snow now. But it's the same forest, and so at some point you're bound to see there's certain bridges that the X-Files has killed. I don't know how many people on this one bridge in downtown Vancouver, because it's kind of got a cool like frame to it. It doesn't look industrial, and so they I had friends that looked down on it, and they would get little notes in their mailbox saying, okay, tomorrow there's going to be a body hanging off the bridge, but it's not, like, don't panic, right? It's just the Xbox.
It's a prop.
Yeah.
That's so good. I think the most recent one I noticed is I love Resident Alien, the show with Alan Tudyk, and his cabin is set where they filmed part of the 100.
Okay.
And it's I'm going, to the point I had to pause it because there's no cabin there. Like, so they built a cabin where, I just, I'm really good at landmarks and sometimes extras. I can pick extras from one movie and another movie. It's weird.
That I have not
Yeah.
seen Resident Alien yet, but I heard it was great.
It's
It's
fantastic.
fantastic.
It's actually better
Just
than the comic
started.
book.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Season 4 just started over
Yeah.
there where you guys are. I think there's 3 episodes in. But yeah, Jamie got me into Resident Alien after the first season had started, and yeah, I've been addicted to the point where I'm actually further ahead than he is at the
Yeah.
moment. So
Yeah.
we did.
They,
I think we did a podcast series
yeah, we did
where we
a rewatch.
rewatched the first season and
Yeah.
talked about each episode individually, and yeah, it was really good. Love that
Oh,
show.
nice. I'm still trying to claw my way through Andor. That's my like
All right, cool.
I loved season 1. I'm just starting to get, I mean, this is my bias, but like the first few episodes I found pretty plodding, and now it's starting to pick up,
Yeah.
But and that's my friends. The only thing that sustained me was my whole social circle saying, "No, you got to hang in there. It gets really good." So yeah.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
haven't actually like Andor. I've been hearing good things about it, but I've just been a bit let down with some of the Star Wars TV shows. Like obviously Mandalorian is top notch. Love the Mandalorian. That was really good. But yeah, I guess with so much after having so little and now having
yeah.
so much Star Wars stuff, it just kind of gets a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I think I fell that far behind that I'm like, well, it's going to take a lot to catch up, kind of thing.
I really liked Andor season 1, but it's not like any other Star Wars shows. I'm actually
Yeah.
not a huge. I mean, I love the classic Star Wars, and I watched the first one when I was 12 or something, right?
Yeah.
When it very first came out. But which ages me, obviously. But I did once it got past the original trilogy, I really started to lose interest. I've seen a bunch of them, but I liked Rogue One. I thought was the best of the ones that I had seen.
Yeah.
And I also sort of burned out on it. And the only reason I started watching Andor was I really liked Tony Gilroy's writing. And I listened to a podcast one day, and he was talking about how it was really him and his brother had an idea and actually been able to execute. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'll take a punt. And the first season I really thought was great, and it didn't feel at all like a Star Wars show.
Okay.
But season 2 is taking a little while to get going, and then it's I get distracted and I go upstairs and start playing Baldur's Gate, and there's my
Yeah.
yeah.
That's it.
I like it. I like
So
it.
so coming from working in both video games and movies, is there a video game that you've always would love to turn into a movie?
Yes,
Given the chance.
Tragic tale, one of the saddest. I mean, it's not tragic because I got really close to getting it done, and maybe one day, but I got the rights to XCOM, which is literally my favorite strategy game of all time, I would say, or certainly in the top 2 or 3. And I got it by calling the president of the company. Somebody knew him. Somebody I knew him, and he's one of those guys who just was like, you know what, give me a call. And I explained who I was, which was to say a very marginal Hollywood guy. Like, I worked with some of the studios, but not in any way a big name. But nobody else was knocking on their door for it. And I said, I love the game and I have a vision for it, and here's what it is. And he said, you know what? I'm going to connect you with the lead designers, the lead creatives. And if they say that your vision is like, if they'll sign off on it, you can have the rights for $1.
Wow.
So I pitched Jake Solomon and the head of narrative at 2K. We went back and forth, and they were still a little unsure. And I said, look, like, I think it's there. Let me I'll write a pilot script for free. And if you guys read the pilot script and you don't like it, I mean, you have all the power, right? You can just say no. But if you like it, then like, let me take a swing at it. And I put my heart and soul into this thing. I sent it to them. They're like, oh, this is so good. They were over the moon. So I got the rights for $1, and I got it almost all the way there with a showrunner named Tim Kring, who had done Heroes.
I know
yes,
Tim Kring,
yes.
Heroes, yeah.
Lovely guy. And so the idea was that I would be the lead writer, but they were never going to greenlight a TV show without a big lead showrunner, just to make sure that, budgets and whatever, staffing and things, and the people who didn't know me weren't, going to take me on faith. But I got matched up with him by his agency, and then we took it out and sort of got pretty close, but people were afraid of the size and scope of the budget. So then it fell apart. So I had to go back to 2K and say, like, please let me take another swing. And they were gracious enough, having failed, right? Like, I mean, got really close, but still fundamentally having failed. And then I got a showrunner named John Rogers, who's another lovely, lovely guy. Did, I think, The Librarians? He's done a ton of stuff, and he's a D&D player. He was a huge XCOM fan. And so then he came up with a take that was a riff on my take that I thought was awesome. And John had been a stand-up comedian in a past life. So when he does that classic Hollywood pitch, it sang. Like, I walked out of the first one thinking, like, oh, I got to really change my pitching style, because he's so good. And we got really, really close. And then it was right as TV was starting to cut their budgets and feel nervous. And also, Fallout hadn't come out yet. So taking a big swing on a game IP that nobody, like, in the gaming industry, it's iconic, right? But if you're a Hollywood executive that doesn't play video games, you'd never heard of it, right? In the way that they'd all heard of Grand Theft Auto or Minecraft, right?
Yeah.
But nobody had heard of XCOM. And so we got really close, and then we just couldn't get it over the goal line. So to this day, I still think about that pilot script and what it could have been. So maybe one day.
Yeah.
That's a long way of just telling you one IP, but
no. I remember. I don't think I played it too much, but I definitely know it. I'm one of these people that tend to replay games more than I play new games.
Sure. I love the comfort food theory of all entertainment, which is, sometimes I want a really challenging new thing that really causes me to focus, but occasionally I'll just go back and watch all of season 1 of The West Wing just because it's well done and I know exactly what's going to happen. And that's still really great for me. Or I'll reread reread The Lord of the Rings every couple of years, and there's 9 Brandon Sanderson books there waiting for me, but I still just want to go back and reread The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. And you're getting value for your buck,
Yeah.
Well, I'm exactly the same. I'm like I know Jamie has a set, like, I think 8 or 9 games where he can replay over and over and over again. I have those games as well that I will replay every so often, but I'm also one to jump in and try new games as well. I'm a massive RPG, JRPG kind of guy. Like, not RPG like Baldur's Gate. I have played Baldur's Gate 3, but I more prefer the JRPG side of things. So I'll try new games and I'll recommend, if I think that, because I've known Jamie for a long time, if I think I know he'll like it, I'll tell him, play this. But I'm the same. Like, I have comfort games, I have comfort shows, comfort movies, comfort books, that I know if I just want to have a zone out and I just want to relive the nostalgia or something like that, I can go and one of the books for me is Ready Player One. I read that when I was very, 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 very young, and I still have it on my Amazon, because I do much of because I read so much, I do most of it digitally, so I have it all on my tablet. So I still have Ready Player One there, and I think I've read it probably since I read it when I was 12, and since then I've probably read it maybe 40 times. I'm 43 now, so that for me is a comfort book that I can read in maybe a couple of days. So yeah, I can definitely understand both sides of the perspective, because I'm all for trying new things, and since doing this podcast, it's gotten me to try a lot of new books and a lot of new authors that I never would have known about if it wasn't for the podcast. And I suppose meeting and talking to people like yourself makes me want to read your stuff, because I feel like I get in the hour or 2 hours that we talk, I feel like I get a semblance of who you are and the passion that you have for what you do. And to me, that's what sells the book to me.
Yeah, I think it's why I think, in my opinion, AI will never take off as a writer of books, is because it's about the author and their voice and their point of view, and almost anything can be really cool, right? Like I'll read all kinds of stuff, right? But it's always that the person behind it is the thing that is sort of driving you, right? Like
the passion.
There's nothing cooler than a super crazy violent book written by, like a really nerdy 100-pound girl, and you're just like, oh, this is awesome, right? Like it just, just whatever the juxtaposition is, or the perspective, or I'm as interested in that as I am in the actual, whatever skullduggery that goes on. So
So before we jump into a little bit of bonus stuff, what are you working on now? What's the current project? Are you allowed to tell us, or is it secret?
Sure. So I'm working. The caveat here is that there is an almost finished crappy first draft, so I'm sort of vaguely optimistic it'll come out, but don't hold it. If it never appears, that just means at some point I was like, oh, okay, this didn't, didn't quite come together in reality the way it is in my mind. But it's in the same vein as Majordomo and Jester. It's sort of it's got a like a light, heartfelt tone combined with like sort of really big issues and topics. It's called Familiar, and it's about a familiar, like a D&D familiar, who is tired of being sent on suicide missions by her first level mage who doesn't know what he's doing, and decides that she's got to change basically the rules that govern her life, right? It's almost like she can negotiate with God, like with her creator, but like he's a bit of a selfish twerp, right? And he's also like young and not very mature and prone to sort of not have a good sense of perspective. And so, they, on one level, it's like a classic dungeon crawl, right? It's clearly a low level group of characters that have to go find a MacGuffin that honestly nobody actually gives a damn about the stupid MacGuffin. They've just been sent on it as a kind of make work sort of project. But on the way, her quest is to figure out who she is, and then to regain some autonomy over her life, even though she's essentially a creature that can be killed at a moment's notice and summoned back into life, and must follow the commands of the boss, right? The boss says, fly over and poke the troll in the eye. She's got to do it, right? So, and then she's dealing with the trauma of having been, crushed by a troll 20 times in a row as the guy tries to figure out, in classic D&D thing, it's like, well, we'll try this. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, well, we'll try this. Oh, that didn't work. But she's the one who, every time it doesn't work, it's because she got killed, right? So, so it's, on the one hand, it's super whimsical and hopefully very charming, but it's also about life and death and the meaning of life and what, like, how do you find meaning in a journey that seems to be inherently absurd and often totally unfair and random, So that's what I'm going for anyway. And then when I'm done that, I'm working on a short story that'll go out to my newsletter subscribers. I mean, it was supposed to be the end of June, but the end of June's pretty close. So I'm thinking it's more like mid-July right about now. But it in Majordomo, in the novella, the character, the Majordomo character, runs a dungeon for a very elderly, very famous, and very feared necromancer, who turns out to be kind of a sweet guy. And so I'm going to tell his life story next, and that might actually be more than one book. We'll see how it goes. But I have the beginning of, of his story kind of mapped out just for a, like a 20-page short story. So I'm hoping to finish that and get that out there as well.
Awesome. Like sounds incredible. Right up my alley. I really need to start reading more books. I'm a slow reader, and anytime I feel like reading, I'm usually writing, and it's just, I got to get back into it.
I'm a slow reader as well. I have 2 dogs that need about an hour and a half, maybe an hour, 40 minutes of walking a day between morning and afternoon. So audiobooks are my salvation. Like, in terms of getting through books, especially, I mean, as you guys know, like, man, fantasy, there are some nice, short, to the point books, but if you want to sort of be engaged with the whole kind of genre, you got some 1,000-page chonkers in your future somewhere,
Yeah.
and those things are just crazy. So at least if I'm doing it, as I walk my dogs, like I did,
You
The
get
Way of
through it.
Kings took me 2 months to listen to, you know.
Oh, wow.
But my dogs loved it. They got
Yeah.
good exercise.
Exercise, yeah. I actually got asked to do an audiobook for someone, and it was like 600 pages. I'm going like, do you know how long that would take me? Like, there's one thing for me to sit there and read, but to sit there
Yeah,
and intentionally read and be careful,
sure.
that's going to take twice as long, you know?
I'm gonna do an audiobook for Jester, and I might, because Jester is about 300 pages long, which
Oh,
is
yeah,
it's actually a little short for an audiobook, because if
yeah.
you want people to use their whatever it is, the Audible
Audible,
credit
yeah,
on it, you got to give them a longer experience. So I might match Major Domo with it, because between the two of them, it's
yeah,
450 pages, which is,
yeah,
now you're sort of in the standard zone. And I just auditioned a bunch of narrators through ACX, right? So
yeah,
they will make the book, I mean, for free, but then you split the royalties. And
yeah,
boy, I got some great reads. Like, some of
yeah,
those people are super
yeah.
talented. So I'm actually quite excited I'm hoping that comes out in August, or at least will be done in August. Having never done one, I don't know how long it's
Yeah.
going to take us to actually get the thing out to the
Awesome.
world. But I'm excited to try that, in part because it is the way I consume 3/4 of the books that I read.
Yeah.
So
It is definitely something worth tapping into that market. Cool. All right, let's jump into some bonus stuff. I think Ryan will just pick our favorites again.
Yeah. No,
And
that's fine by me.
you don't know these questions, Tim. You don't know these questions.
nope.
But they're all book related, and I think you're creative enough to be able to give us some good answers.
All right, well, I'll cross my fingers.
Do you want to go first, Ryan?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to mix it all up and go for the last question on the list.
Ooh.
Is what are your three desert island books? So you're stuck on a desert island for the rest of your life. You can only take three books. What books are they?
Okay, so I think the books that I reread the most, I'm gonna fall back on that. So Lord of the Rings, as long as we're counting that as one book. I reread Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy once a year, just because
Mhm.
I love spy novels, but I think that is just beautifully written as a book. And then the third one, oh, that's going to be hard. What have I got that I pull back? I'm trying to think of the ones that, I'm chewing my way through, like Joe Abercrombie stuff, but I don't know that I would read it over and over and over again. Maybe Guy Gabriel Kay's Under Heaven, which I just,
Oh,
especially the first third of that book, I absolutely loved. So
Yeah.
excellent. All right. What's the book on your TBR list?
Well, Joe Abercrombie's Devils is coming up. I also Wingspan of Treason is an indie book by, oh God, what's her first name? Lamia Banyan is
All right.
a UK author, and a number of people that I follow just posted glowing reviews of it not long ago, and so it's been sitting there
Hmm.
bugging me, right? To get to it. So there's like one indie and one, sort of big famous author. Those are probably the next two that I'm gonna take on when I'm finished the ones I'm on now.
Awesome.
Okay, no worries. Okay, my next question is, okay, I'm going to set the scene for you. Okay, so basically you're in a log cabin. It's a nice winter's night. You're in front of a fire, laying down or sitting down in front of a chair, and there's your favorite book is on that chair. And then someone's going to come in and read that to you. It could be anyone, famous, non-famous, living, dead. Who would you have read your favorite book to you?
Well, I think we're going to say that it's Lord of the Rings just for fun.
Cool.
And so just to go with the very posh English experience of it all, I think I'll have Sir Richard Attenborough read Lord of the Rings in the full, like he's not allowed to, he's not allowed to back off, right? It's got to be the over the top
Yeah,
Attenborough accent.
nice.
I like it. I like it.
Would it start with, oh, what is it? Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome to Lord of the Rings.
My mom turned 90 not long ago, and she wrote a whole bunch of journals, like kind of books for her family over the years. She's had a really fascinating life. But it meant that I had all the stories and I had photos from, like the 1940s and 1950s and stuff. And so I made her a kind of Ken Burns type documentary for her 90th birthday as a gift.
Yeah.
And I got an AI voice to do Sir Richard Attenborough to narrate it. And it was really quite good. And she was absolutely blessed. She's like, how is this happening? So yeah, there's really no voice like that, I think.
Yeah. And it's incredible that, like, I only realized probably in the last 10 years that David Attenborough and Richard Attenborough are brothers, So you've got these two great narrators,
Yeah.
It's just incredible. Yeah, that's a good choice. All right, what's my next question going to be? Okay, so if you could spend the day with any fictional character, who would it be and what would you do?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to say, just because it would be fun, the first thing that comes to mind is Tyrion Lannister. But what we're going to do, because I don't want to go to jail or die, and, Tyrion has quite the adventure, but the people around him don't always do quite as well as he does. So I think, let's say we're going to go on a walking tour of like the historical sites of like London or one of these super old, or Rome, we're going to go on a Roman history walking tour and drink a ton of wine and eat a lot of food and tell stories or listen to stories.
Nice, because
as opposed to overthrow the king or something totally bloody.
That's it.
For sure, I'm going to be in the dungeon at the end of that.
He's definitely got a great narrator voice as well.
Sure.
All right, let's go two more, Ryan.
Yeah, sure. Okay. What's the first book you remember reading ever?
Oh, that's a good question. Damn. I'm going to be like that I can remember, not counting, Franklin the Turtle or something, the kids book thing, but like novels. So my dad was very into like pulpy, like British. He was British, and he liked pulpy kind of war and adventure novels. So I think the first books he gave me to read were Alistair MacLean novels. And whether it was, I think the very first Alistair MacLean novel, which was the only one that was halfway, not completely over the top, was HMS Ulysses. And then you got into like Ice Station Zebra, and there was one, and why this has never been made into a movie is beyond me, because it was actually I cannot remember the title, but basically this 747 had crashed in Greenland right beside a polar ice station, like a weather station in the middle of nowhere. And there's like 12 survivors and the 2 or 3 guys that work at the ice station, and they got to get everyone back to, Thule or wherever. And it's like 500 miles across open ice in the winter in Greenland. And as they're leaving, they discover that someone shot the pilot of the plane, and that, there's some skullduggery going on, and they're all stuck in this kind of like basically a bus on caterpillar wheels, and they got to go across the ice. I cannot remember the name of that book, but I really have a strong memory of reading it. But I'm going to say Alistair MacLean for sure. Okay. Good pulpy, hero sort of stories. Cool. Very British.
Very British. One of our sponsors is British, Rebecca Cassells of the Rising Dawn series.
Very nice. Are those the vampire or the werewolf books?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
She's great author, and her husband does the Wirt episodes with me. So
nice.
They're involved.
Well, and you can tell her that the ads are working, because I knew they were werewolf books from watching from watching previous shows. So
yeah, awesome. Well, let's bring it home with our. I'm going to say this is the trickiest one. It's going to stretch your creativity, but
All right.
if you could combine the works of two different authors, what would they be?
Oh,
Like so, like a
interesting.
mishmash,
A
crossover, if you
mishmash.
will.
Well, I have so I have multiple kind of loves when it comes to reading, right? And so and I did actually pitch a video game company on this once. It never went anywhere, but I would take either the spy stories of Le Carre or maybe Alan First is another, like he writes a lot about spies in like 1930s Europe, especially Eastern Europe. So kind of, and they're almost like noirish detective stories as well. Even though they're
Yeah,
spies, there's like that sort of 1930s noir, like sometimes Alan First heroes, like they're fighting the Nazis, but they work for the Russians, and the Russians
yeah,
are as murderous
yeah.
as the Nazis are on some level, right? And the poor guy is just trapped. And I would mash that with like hardcore high fantasy that before we did the mash was taking itself way too seriously, like John Gwynne or someone like that. So let's do a slightly ridiculous 30s spy noir, a little bit of Casablanca thrown in for fun with like, the thrall of Forps Lorps Gordon, with dragons and
Yeah.
trolls or something, in a pseudo medieval Viking world, you know.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
that would be that I sort of aspire one day to do something like
Yeah,
that. So I'll take those. But it's
yeah,
purely just I love those spy stories. I love me some high fantasy,
yeah.
you know.
That's awesome. It
Uh,
sounds like well, there's a comic book that came out a while ago called Arrowsmith or something, and it's World War II but with dragons.
oh, okay.
So it's I came across it when I was, I think it was a Big Bang Theory episode, and then Sheldon was looking for something, and then this I can't remember exactly what happened, but they talked about that, and he was like, "How did I not know about this?" It's and then I looked it up
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, "Wow, it's real," just like
I
in
you know,
the what is it? The Have you heard of Black Books in a British sitcom early
no.
2000s? It's hilarious. It's basically a drunk Irishman who runs a bookstore, and he hates selling books. It is so funny, but there's a book in it called The Little Book of Calm, and it's very small. Um, Hilarious jokes all about it, and then I found out it was real. You know, but yeah, you got to check out Black Books. It's where Simon Pegg started. He was in it, and
Oh, okay. Wow.
yeah, a few other big names were involved in it. It's hilarious, and it's book related. It's,
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. You do that sort of Google search to find out what streaming service the show you
yeah,
want is on,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Black Books, check it out. It's probably 20 years old, and it still stands up. Only 3 seasons, but
Sure.
it's hilarious. Um,
I would definitely give it a look. I'm all for mashups and those, finding those new series or new authors or whatever is it's like finding hidden treasure in a way.
oh yeah, yeah. 100%. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Tim. It's been a blast. It went very quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a genuine pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So when your next book's coming out, or whenever you want to come back on, hit us up. We'll squeeze you in. We'll squeeze you in.
Thanks so much. I
Um,
absolutely will. I mean, cross my fingers, it'll be toward the end of the year, but who
yeah.
honestly, you
You
probably know
never
as
know.
well. It's like
Yeah.
best laid plans and all that sort of
Yeah.
thing. But
That's
it's
it.
there's a crummy first draft, so it's there, and in the meantime, Jester and Major Adomo are out there. So
Mhm. Cool.
anyone who likes that kind of thing can go have a look for sure.
Yeah. So let our listeners know and viewers know where they can follow you, where they can buy your books, and anything you want to plug. The floor is yours.
Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, so I'm mainly on Blue Sky. I do keep an account on Twitter because some of my indie book friends are there, but I bought back and forth, but
Yeah.
I spend more time on Blue Sky. I'm on Instagram, but mainly because my wife loves Instagram and I'm not even sure how to work it half the time.
Yeah.
My website is timbcarter.com, and I do a monthly newsletter. So if people want to follow me, there's free stories there. Sometimes I'll post a chapter of a work in progress and things like that, as well as, refer over friends and Vancouver has a really interesting SFF community of writers here. Sebastian de Castel lives here, and Nick Eames lives across from my other place, and so I bop over and see him once in a while, and Andy Pelican and Ben Galley, and there's a bunch of others that are here, and so we sort of swap promos and stuff. And all those guys are giving their books away at one time or another. It's crazy. I have Andy gave 12 books for free the other day, and I'm like, Andy, this is, I don't know, 20,000 pages or something insane.
Wow. Yeah.
So but yeah, you can find me at timbcarter.com and sign up for my newsletter there. And I try to post interesting things on social media when I can. It's almost always either game related, occasionally, sort of political things and writing. So
cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
come on by. And Jester and Major Domo are both on Amazon. I'm working toward, I think Jester will go wide, so to Kobo and Apple and everyone else in another month and a bit, because it's 90 days of Kindle Unlimited will be up, and then I'm going to try sending it wide. But right now it's on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited. So.
Excellent. Well, guys, be sure to check out all that stuff that'll be down in the show notes. Remember to check out our sponsors, Rebecca Cassells and Martin Kearns. Buy their stuff, buy my stuff. If you want to reach out, thetrueandthefictional@gmail.com. And I guess we'll catch you next time.
See you next time.